Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect podcast, episode number 138. I'm Tony Caliendo, author of Less Over More and executive coach here at Rethink Coaching. As always, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time. Time really is our greatest asset. And the fact that you're willing to share your time with me today truly does mean a great deal. Let's go ahead and jump in because today's topic, like all others, is really something that I believe everyone needs to hear in the current space that we're in, and really any time with a lot of the distractions and noise that we have going on in the world. And I honestly think that's pretty normal anymore just because of where and how we live. And I want to talk about it because it can have a tremendous impact on you. You know, most people don't burn out because they're not capable. They burn out because they never defined what enough looks like. And when you don't have that definition of enough, you just keep adding more work, more pressure, more goals. And that can become exhausting. And at some point that adding more stops working. I want to talk to you about how to recognize that today as we move forward through this episode together, and the power of knowing what your enough is and what a limit is that is good for you, and what you're doing to guard the activities and time that you spend so that you can have balance and not get burnt out or frustrated or have extreme anxiety about your ability to get to the goal that you wish to have and the success that you wish to have. So I know for me, I'm going to share this with you. I think you all know that I'm working on several projects. The biggest one is the book, Less Over More. And we're getting really close to publication date, August 25th. And there's been a lot of deadlines that have come up with that as the author that I have to approve with the publishing house, and from artwork to layout to final edits and just a lot of things. And I remember I got an email requesting one more thing. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't. I've hit my limit. I've hit my threshold. I don't think I can do this. And I knew in that moment, I just really needed to step away for a minute and collect my thoughts. So this ties into the last episode about silence. I unplugged for 15 minutes. And I took some time to really think, why am I having this feeling? Why am I relating or causing a definition, or I'm giving myself a label of overwhelmed, of burnt out, I'm at capacity, when I know I'm not? That 15 minutes was the best time I could spend. And I want to walk you through why having a definition of limit is important, why having a definition of what it feels like so you can recognize it, and some really helpful resources to get you through. Because I firmly do believe that as individuals, we can redefine our success through the power of less. And that is such a valuable lesson. So stick with me. You're going to learn some great things today about what this really means. So you don't really have a capacity problem if you think about it. When you have that feeling that you've hit your limit, you really don't have a capacity problem. You really have an enough problem. And, people think they've hit their limit, they're feeling a little burnt out, and it's really because they haven't defined their target. So for an example, when I was a coach at a previous company, and this is their model, no criticism, it's just how they operated and their business model, you were viewed as successful if you had a high client count, 40 or more. Really, I think it was like 38 or more was really viewed as important. And as I transitioned into Rethink Coaching and leading it, I redefined what my enough was. Old company, 35, 38. I was carrying, I think, 42, 43 at the time that I left. And I carried that over. And that started to make me feel very overwhelmed. It started to make me feel like I was at capacity. And what I realized is I didn't set a definition of my enough. For me, my enough is 18 powerful one-on-one coaching clients that are focused, that are on point, that are coachable, that have a strong desire to do something different, versus a larger amount of clients that are a little bit diluted. Again, nothing wrong with that. There, you could also look at it in terms of your enough as your income. What's enough? Because if we don't have a definition, our brain is going to talk us into just doing more. Do more because more feels safer, better, and successful. Let's just say you have a enough limit of income of $500,000 a year. It's a great number. If I don't have that, my brain is going to push me to do more, and I'm going to feel like I've maxed out, that I've gotten to capacity, I've hit my limit, because I'm going to keep pushing past that 500 because my brain didn't know that 500 was my enough target. So I would invite you to take a look at your business and define what is your enough. What is your enough in terms of clients? What is your enough in terms of income? I'm not saying that we don't want to shoot to exceed that. What I am saying is that we have to have a clear definition of it, or your brain's just going to push you to constantly do more because we've been programmed to think that more is the path to success. More is the way that we feel safer, that we feel better about who we are and what we're doing. So enough isn't about settling. It's really just about targeting. And when you have those targets in mind, it makes everything so much easier. It makes decisions about what you're going to bring in or what you're going to exclude way easier to handle. That's number one. Number two, there's a hidden cost of doing too much. I know this might sound counterintuitive, right? We've been trained just do more, do more, do more. The reality is that there is a cost. Doing more doesn't just dilute your results. It actually blocks them. And I want to talk a little bit about that. When you're doing more and you're doing more for the sake of doing more, right? You're splitting your focus. You're not as effective or efficient as you could be if you were focused on fewer right things, the fewer right more. When you're focused on that, it makes everything easier because you know exactly what you should be doing. When you don't do that, right? When you're just doing too much, it really has an emotional toll, stress, frustration, constant feeling of being behind. If you're feeling like that right now, I promise you it's because you are doing too much versus doing the right more. You're doing a lot of the wrong more for the sake of doing more. There's an opportunity cost as well. I firmly believe when you're not focused on the specific activities, eliminating the wrong, you're clogging the way. There is no room in your world for more right things to show up. And so there is an opportunity cost associated with that. I think this happens a lot when, the hidden cost of doing too much, when we're feeling overwhelmed. And overwhelmed to me is an emotion and energy, a feeling. And you know that I believe that that is triggered by a thought. All right. So thoughts drive feelings, energies, emotion, which impact our actions, which generate our results. And if we are having this feeling, energy, or emotion of overwhelm, we want to go back and take a look. What's the thought I'm having right now that's causing me to have this feeling? And the thought, if you haven't defined your enough and you are not paying attention to everything that you're doing and scaling back to meet your enough, then the thought is going to be your default thought, which we've all been trained to do, of just do more. Do more. It's safe, right? It's all those things that we talked about. It's safe. It's better. It's what makes me successful. And so that can cause that feeling of overwhelm. We go back and reprogram that thought of, hey, I know what my enough is, and I know what I should be doing, and I take a look at what I'm doing. It's going to help eliminate or remove that feeling of overwhelm. In that moment where I was feeling that, and I was like, okay, I've reached my limit. I'm about to crack. And I took the 15 minutes to just take a breath. I was able to stop. I was able to pause. I was able to build in some really strategic thinking time and ask myself, what am I doing that doesn't really matter? And can I get rid of it? What am I doing that could be delayed for a week or two or three that if I did that would create the space for the right things for me to do? So I just want you to think about there is a cost of doing too much. And we find ourselves in that too much, do more when we do not have a limit or a definition of what your enough is. Number three thing that you might be experiencing when you're in this overwhelm, you've done too much, you don't have a definition of your target, is that you might be experiencing burnout. And burnout is simply just a signal, not failure. We've talked about this before. Yet I think it's really important when we're feeling this in this moment that burnout is not weakness. It's really just the best feedback you could have. In that moment where I was feeling all those things, I was feeling a bit of burnout as well. I was like, I just can't keep doing this. I'm feeling burnt out. And what was happening is my thoughts were, I can't handle this. But the second I reframed and I went to work about eliminating things that didn't need to be done and items that I didn't need to be doing, I realized that it wasn't that I couldn't handle more. It was simply that things were misaligned. Things were in my schedule that didn't belong in my schedule. Things were in my schedule too early, or I could delay them. I was doing too many things. But the most important thing is I was doing some things that were driving results because I've always done them. And I'm in a different place now with the different projects I have going on, similar to where you might be. And it is that question that I have to ask myself constantly, is this activity actually driving results or am I doing it out of habit? And it could also be, from what we talked about previous podcast about identity, you can be operating out of an old identity and it could be causing you to feel burned out because that old identity hasn't grown with your new goals, hasn't helped you identify the true core activities that you should be focused on to get you moving forward towards that goal. The good news about burnout, if there could be anything good about it, is that it's a great warning signal. I think about it like a check engine sign on your dashboard. That's all burnout is. When it starts flashing, kind of giving you that feeling like something's about to go wrong, terribly wrong, it's a great signal. It's not the end. It's just an indicator. And that's where you get to take your power back and get out of burnout through strategy and strategic actions. And you know that you've got that opportunity to change it. You know, staying in burnout is a choice and it's not a great one. So use some resources of eliminating actions that aren't really moving you forward and give your energy to the actions that are. Number 4 is enough starts with subtraction, not addition. Again, this goes against really, as a society, how we've been really trained. Sometimes I'll say, I feel like we got lied to, that we need to do more to be successful, a bigger house, a better car, a bigger job title, more sales, more. And the reality is true success comes from subtraction, not just addition. You don't find enough by just adding better things, right? You find it by removing what doesn't belong. This goes back to that conversation we were having that I needed to audit my current activities because I was feeling that I've hit the wall, I've hit my limit. And when you audit those activities, you get to really find out what's actually driving results. And that's what I should be paying attention to versus what's just noise. And there were so many things on my calendar and schedule that were really just noise to me. And as soon as I took a moment to audit my current activities, identified those things, got rid of them, got out of overwhelm, and got excited again because I knew what was going to drive my results. I knew the right activities that I needed to do. So simply just take a moment and look at a list of everything you're doing, your calendar. Remember, calendar is just a to-do list with times assigned to it. So take a moment and just drop down a list of everything that you've got on your calendar or your to-do list, the actions, the strategies, everything, and ask yourself, what are the items that are contributing at least 20% towards my results? What are the activities that are actually I can measure and see results? And conversely, what are the ones that aren't? You want to question everything else. Why am I doing that? And sometimes I'll be working with a client and we're working on a strategy and they're doing some activities that weren't part of our strategy. And I'll ask the question, why are you doing that? Help me understand why this strategy that's not really in our business plan is something that you keep defaulting to. And they will struggle for a minute and they'll finally admit it's just because it's what I used to do and it worked. And the question that you must do is you must question it, is it currently working? When's the last time it was working at a high level? When is the last time the return of investment of your time on that activity was getting you the results that you needed to move towards that goal? 9 times out of 10, we pull this strategy out because it's no longer serving them in a way that it used to. And it's okay. We just are doing it by default, right? 90% of what we do is conditioned habitual behavior. And it might just be one of those 90% items that we just need to question and pull off of our schedule or out of our to-do list if it is not moving us forward. Really important. That's exactly what I did. Within a matter of 15 minutes, I felt really refreshed and I felt like I could attack all of the important things. My excitement came back, my belief that it was possible, and I jumped back in. It was a simple 15-minute exercise that changed everything. Number 5 thing for you to consider is when you define what enough looks like for you. Enough is going to be a very personal decision. There's really nothing prescribed. You have to figure out what you want for your enough, whether it's your income, whether it's number of clients, whatever it is. You need to take a moment because it's very powerful when you have a clear definition around your enough, right? It's kind of like the target. And we want to measure enough in business. What's our income? What's our production? What's our client load, right? What is enough? We want to measure the enough in time. How many hours am I willing to work per week? How much time do I want to have just availability to enjoy the rewards of my work, to enjoy the money I'm making, to enjoy the life that I'm creating? I want to know what is my enough in time. This is a big one. I think if you're an entrepreneur or even a corporate executive, this comes up a bit because we feel compelled to outwork other people. When I was in corporate America, the belief was you arrived at work before your direct report, your boss, and you left after them. It was just part of the culture. And I think about that now and I think, my gosh, how silly is that? And as a leader, if my employees, my team can get stuff done in a shorter amount of time and they're done at 3:00, I don't need them to stay until 5:00 or until I'm done. I need them to stay the right amount of time to achieve their goals. And so ask yourself, are you just working late hours out of habit? And is that time what you're willing to label as enough? I've become really good about enough because if not, you lose your freedom and your flexibility, and it's very challenging to get it back. What's enough in your life, right? Relationships, health, peace. Are you doing the things that help you with that definition of what enough is for you? I don't know if it's an age thing. I'm not sure what it is, yet I have enough in my core group of friends. I'm not saying if I met somebody amazing today or tomorrow that I wouldn't invite them in. I'm not actively seeking to add to my relationship group. I'm beyond blessed with the people that I have that are in my front row, my core group. So I'm not actively looking to add to it. I might later, who knows? If I met somebody spectacular today, I might bring him in. But my enough has been met in that relationship quadrant, and I don't have to give it any more time. When these things are defined, your business, your life, the hours, the time, all of that, when those things are defined, decisions get to be easier. Get to say yes or no to a project. I get to say yes or no to the amount of time that I'm going to spend, or if I'm available for something that somebody's asking me to do. When I know my definition of enough, saying yes or no becomes so much easier. And it also sharpens your focus. I know exactly what I should be paying attention to. I think of it this saying, right? Energy flows where attention goes. And when I know what my enough looks like and I'm giving my attention to those activities, that's where my energy is. And when you're giving your energy to the right things and you know what your enough is, you get into the flow. And that's probably one of the best places that you can be. I was having a conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine who's going through some serious life changes. And she and I were talking and she's just in the flow. Clients are reaching out to her. Opportunities are coming to her. Perfect housing opportunity showed up almost word for word on her vision board of exactly what she wanted. And it's because she knew what her enough is. She knows now what it is when it comes to her business, when it comes to her time into her life. And so in addition to decisions being easier, opportunities are coming to her. This is part of the power of defining what your enough is. You move into the flow. Think about the flow as an athlete, or if you've ever run or you've been in some type of athletic activity where all of a sudden you just go into this zone where everything is clicking along perfectly for you. And now when I was a runner, that tended to happen about mile 1.5. Getting to mile 1.5 wasn't so easy. Yet once I got there, I was in the zone. And I didn't even think about it. My legs were just moving automatically. I was moving towards that end finish line. Same thing can happen in your business and life. When you know what your enough is, you get into that flow and things start showing up. Things just feel easier. Enough isn't a limit, it's a strategy. So don't get hung up on, am I limiting myself? Am I putting a cap on? No, you are giving yourself a clear outline of what is expected from you. And it helps your brain know this is where we're going and what we're doing. The last thing I want you to think about is doing less is how you achieve more. I'm going to say that again because it goes against a lot of us, what we've been taught, right? Doing less is how you will achieve more. And it's a paradox, right? Because less actually does create better results. This is really a different head game to wrap your brain around that it can work for you. When we focus on less and we focus on doing the right more, this is when our focus increases and you see higher quality and consistency in what you're able to produce as results. And now, like when I clear out all of the wrong more in my life, which is meaning I'm going to be doing less, my focus on the right more, which is what you're left with when you eliminate the wrong more, allows me to focus at a higher level. It allows my energy to get directed versus scattered. It allows my momentum to rocket ship like never before because I'm not distracted. I'm not frustrated. I'm not doing things that are no longer moving me towards goal. I'm not doing things that are no longer aligned with my current identity or my new identity. This is really, really important to embrace less, giving you more. It's not just like, oh, I don't have to do as much and things are going to be great. I have to eliminate the wrong more. I must eliminate the wrong more and identify what the right more is and give my energy to that, which ultimately is you're doing less, but you're getting higher level results. I have a client right now that I coach that took this philosophy to heart last year. We had a conversation and we identified he was doing a lot of activities that just were the wrong more. We narrowed it down for him. We had our call last week and we're about 4 months in and 2 weeks into the year, and he's at 50% of goal. So we're 2 months ahead of schedule. He's doing less, not meaning he's working less. He's focused on less actions and he's getting more results. That's the win in doing less allows you to achieve more. It's not just doing less. It's focused your energy and attention on the right more. He's making better decisions. You will make better decisions. You will receive better actions. Better actions give you bigger outcomes. You don't need more to win. I can't say that enough. I'm going to ask you the next time you say, well, I just need to do more, that you really question it. Is it the right more? Is there wrong more that I can eliminate and leave more space for the right more? Like reallocate that time that you were spending on those wrong more activities to the actual activities that will move you and you'll get bigger results. How couldn't you? If you reallocate your time to the things that work and that you enjoy, that don't cause burnout and frustration, you're going to crush it. And just like him, he's doing a great job this year. He's enjoying time with his family. He's enjoying his business. He's actually having fun again. So less is not about doing less for the sake of it. It's about doing less of what doesn't matter. I want you to know that when you get to enough, everything starts to work again. A couple things for you to just embrace. It's a different way of thinking. You may have to listen to this a couple times. When we redefine success through the power of less, it changes everything. It allows you to have the life that you want, the business you like, the life you want, the business you want, and to just enjoy things at a higher level, all while receiving more. All right, team, go make it a great week. We will talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.